Hello, everyone, and welcome to the new Fast Track session. I'm Marketing Communications Manager Daniel Sloan, and on behalf of Trident, I want to say thank you for taking the next step in your educational journey with us. New students often have a lot of questions, and we're here to help. We've gathered some of the best and brightest from Trident's faculty and staff to help guide you to success starting today and through to graduation day. First, I'd like to introduce Dr. George DellHera, a recent graduate of Trident's PhD in Educational Leadership program. He joined Trident in 2010 and currently serves as a full-time instructor and course coordinator in University College. Dr. DellHera has received numerous awards during his time at the university, including honors for communication and collaboration and for student motivation. He's a passionate advocate for student success. Our second presenter today is Tasha Cureton. She currently serves as a Student Success Advisor 3, Classroom Instructor, and Disability Services Coordinator. For the past decade, she has helped facilitate initiatives to improve student success, namely as Senior Manager in the Center for Student Success. From assisting with orientation to being a member of the Committee on Academic Standards, her passion is to help students reach their academic dreams. Just have a couple notes for everyone before we get into the presentation. I'm sure a lot of you have questions, and you're welcome to ask them at any time. Just find the control panel on the right-hand side of your screen and go about halfway down. You'll see a section marked questions, and that's where you can type your questions in. And remember, all questions are good questions. If you need help with something, please don't be afraid to ask. That's what we're here for. We're here to help you. Although today's presentation has been pre-recorded, the FDOC team is available right now behind the scenes to assist you. There will be a live Q&A session at the end of the presentation where we will be joined by Dr. DellHera and one of our talented student success advisors. A complete recording of today's webinar and a copy of the slides will be available for you later this week. And now please welcome Dr. George DellHera, who will start today's presentation.
Hello and welcome, everybody. My name is Professor George DellHera. And again, I just want to welcome you all to the first day of class. This is always the most exciting part of our month, where we get to welcome in a brand new set of leaders into our Trident family. And we just couldn't be more excited to do this webinar for you today. The purpose of this webinar is to really just provide you a big picture overview of Trident, give you a little bit of information about who we are, what makes us special, to provide you some tips for success in these first couple weeks of your class. We're going to hop into some academic writing because we know that could be a pain point for someone who may be out of school for a while. And then we're going to transition into some career networking, and then we'll cap it off with some questions and discussion. But we hope you find this presentation useful for today. Next slide. So first, the pillars and commit values of Trident. We know this is a wordy slide. All of these slides will be sent to you via email, so you can take a look in greater detail. In addition, you will also be receiving a survey, so please fill out that survey. Let us know what you honestly think about this presentation, what we're doing well, where we can improve, because all that feedback is for your benefit and for future students. So again, this slide is definitely a very busy slide, but I like to point students to our two pillars. So we have on both sides of the slide. So you have the academic excellence pillar and the compassionate commitment pillar. And these really make up the two strands of DNA that make us who we are at Trident. So the academic excellence pillar is made up of our pedagogy, which is our learning model, which we'll dive into in greater detail. It's how you learn within the classes. The faculty are the instructors who are actually facilitating the classes and teaching you the information within your courses. The curriculum is what you're actually learning, and the standards really adhere to the national, regional, and professional standards that we strive to meet and exceed. The compassionate commitment pillar makes up your in and out of classroom experience and your interaction with any staff and faculty member that you'll have here. So we pledge to be responsive to you. We pledge to respect you. We pledge to approach your learning through a team effort. So we never want you to feel like you're on an island by yourself, kicking around in this in this classroom that you don't really have very much of a personal interaction with anybody. Rather, we want to approach your learning through this interconnected web of support. So you'll hopefully feel that immediately within your classes and within your advisors, that we're constantly communicating with each other. And then finally, we pledge to offer you individualized support. You all bring with you your unique experiences and knowledge and skill sets, and you're gonna be challenged to implement those unique skills and experiences within your class. In addition to that, when things pop up in life that prevent you from moving forward in your class, we hope that you feel that individualized support, because we have practices and policies in place to help you get to that finish line, which is graduation. So more so than just 2 pillars here that tell you who we are, these are going to be really themes of your student experience and throughout this presentation today. Next slide. And so we know that you have a lot of options out there for online education, but in doing some research on those other programs, we really find that there are 3 things that separate Trident from the rest of the competition. And that is, first, our EdActive learning approach. Our EdActive learning approach it really speaks to the pedagogy that we were talking about underneath that academic excellence pillar. And so you're going to be challenged with a problem or an issue that you need to solve. You're going to do your research. You're going to apply that research and your experience to solving that solution. Your instructor is then going to offer you feedback, and then you're going to be expected to implement that feedback into upcoming assignments. And what that does is it creates this cyclical learning pattern where you're just constantly growing on top of your existing knowledge. And it's a very practical learning approach. You're not going to be presented with very many quizzes or tests or things like that. Rather, you're going to be solving real life solutions using your experiences and coupling in that research. So you're honing in those critical thinking and problem solving skills. So it's a very unique learning approach. We're very proud of that model, and we hope you are as well when you start diving into that. Secondly is our flexibility. Now, we're going to be presenting you with deadlines and due dates and all of that, but make no mistake, we are fully prepared. We have practices and policies in place to help you get to that finish line. So if some life circumstance occurs where you can't meet those deadlines, then we want to be there to support you so that you can turn in those assignments, still complete the class, and make progress toward your goal. So please make use of us. Reach out to your faculty member, reach out to your advisor, because our flexibility, I think you'll find, is the gold standard in online education. Thirdly, our third key differentiator is our affordability. Now, you see here on this infographic where Trident stands with other similar schools and other like institutions. We are well below that average average cost of tuition. But more importantly than the cost of tuition is really the value that you receive from the cost is really the value of the program. You're receiving a top-notch degree from a regionally accredited institution, and that's something that we're all very proud of, and that we're able to afford, that we're able to offer this high-quality education program at a cost that's well below the average. So those are our 3 key differentiators. We hope that you are as proud to be a part of the Trident family as we are. And at this point, I'm going to transition over to Tasha Cureton to go over some tips for student success. She's one of our senior most advisors, and there's honestly nobody better to present this next section than her.
Well, I want to welcome everybody and congratulate you. You're on the right step just by coming to the webinar today. It shows that you're taking steps to be proactive and be successful. So let's talk a little bit about being successful. Today's your first day. You're starting a new program. It can be a little bit intimidating. For many of our students, they've either tried various schools or they haven't been in class for years. And so you're starting class. There's a lot of new information to learn. Our goal is today we're going to go over some of what you can do this week to be successful and throughout the session. And we have a couple tidbits that I think will apply to you in one way or another. So be confident in what you're bringing to class. What I love is the diversity in each of our courses. We have students from fresh out of high school to leaders in the military who've been in for many years, to grandmothers, stay-at-home parents, or working professionals. Everyone brings a unique perspective, and it's just a really cool environment to learn from one another. So your perspective matters. Always ask questions. I find that our students who are most engaged with advisors and their support staff are usually the most successful in a lot of ways because they're learning all their options. If they don't have an answer that they know, they're trying to find out answers so that they can be successful. And although this is an online school, we do want you to feel like we're just a phone call or email away. And we're going to talk about your support group. We're going to talk about time management, which is, I think, one of the biggest challenges students have. And so I want to give some tips that might help you. And then we'll talk a little bit about engaging long-term planning. But most importantly, have fun. I love education in general because we're constantly growing, pushing ourselves, and working towards some of our lifelong goals that we have, right? And so this is an exciting time for everybody. So first I want to talk a little bit about time management. And the reason why I bring this up first is because we always want to set you up for success so that you really just have to worry about what's going on in the classroom. We take care of everything else. And time management, aside from the curriculum, tends to be the biggest challenge that we have. And so time management, you guys are working professionals, you have lives, you have families, maybe you have deployments. There's many things going on. And so I truly believe in the adage, if you don't plan, you plan to fail. And so take some time today, lay out your calendars, whether you use electronic, use a physical calendar, a planner, or on your phone, whatever it is. I use all three, and write down your due dates on your calendar so that you know what to expect and when you can do them. So create a plan. Don't just put in the due dates, but put in the days and the times that you're going to work. You almost want to carve out when is the best time for you to do school and create your own school schedule. So for example, you want to consider weekends. We have students who don't want to do homework on the weekends, and we have students who that's all they do is homework on the weekends. Consider holidays, birthdays, and vacations. I think a common misunderstanding our students have is they think, well, if I'm going on a vacation, I won't take a class. But you can plan all of that around your vacation, which is great because our modules are usually due, depending on how many modules are in your class, usually you have about 2 weeks to do your modules. And so I emphasize that because, as Dr. DellHera mentioned, there's flexibility. And if you can make the time to set up a plan now, that's going to be a habit that you roll into your future classes so that you're not always feeling like you're playing catch up. And you're feeling like you're on top of your coursework and that you can enjoy life as well as being in school, and you're not always, kind of stressing about it, feeling like, oh, then last minute I'm getting to the work. And then also think about, when do you think best? Now, is it early in the morning? Is that a good time? Maybe before the kids wake up? Is it late at night when there's no other distractions? Think about those times when you think most clearly, and that would be probably the best time to carve out your schoolwork. Something to note on here is don't get discouraged if you do get behind. I mentioned that a minute ago. There are options. We do understand that the majority of our students are either active duty military or professionals and working. And so life happens. And I would just encourage you at that point to not just give up, and please reach out to us. So we're going to talk a little bit about our support staff now. And these are the people that you would be reaching out to, because I can't tell you how much time I spend, and I'm sure Dr. DellHera and Liz as well, trying to connect with students that we have information that can help them be successful should they need it. So when you log into your student portal on the My TLC page, so this is the first page you log into, on the home page in the lower right hand side, you'll see 2 photos. One will be your student finance advisor and one will be your student success advisor. You might see Liz or I's face on there. And it has our contact information and how you can schedule an appointment. It also has your finance advisor. We understand that's a very important piece. So just consider, we can help with anything that's not finance related, anything in the university, and then we contact them. But we work hand in hand. You also have your admissions advisor at this point who you're working with. Hopefully you've developed a relationship and you'll work with them through your module 1. When you're done with that, they're going to transition you over to your student success advisor who's going to be your main point of contact. So all the while, there's someone who's aware you're a new student, we're here to help you. Depending on the class that you're in, maybe you've been away for a while and you're taking classes, or maybe you're a brand new student. For those in the TUX courses as well, that is something where generally our faculty is pretty responsive and interactive in general, but usually you'll get a lot of time on the phone or emails and communications if you're in TUX. So I mentioned your instructors as well, because just because it's online school doesn't mean that you can't talk to your professors. I notice students tend to feel more comfortable talking to their advisors and they have that rapport, but we also want you to connect with faculty if you have questions on your curriculum. Maybe you don't understand something and reach out to them. Don't be shy. Just imagine like if we're all in one big classroom and you're just raising your hand and trying to figure out. But I would suggest the more specific the question, the better for your teacher, because sometimes people might email me, I need help, you know, and it helps to figure out, okay, what do you need help with in that? So we're going to talk a little bit in a moment about some of the resources. So in general, you've got a team of people, even though it may not feel like it, who are here to support you. When you're alone at night on your computer, there is a team. And please expect that you are going to get emails and phone calls from your support staff, because that's our main method of communication. So now that you're at Trident, I would encourage you to check your email every day. So with resources here, this is also on the home page of your student portal. And at the top, it will say My Home, My Record, and one of them will say My Resources. So when you click on it, there will be different resources available for you in the drop-downs. The writing workshop is a great one to kind of get your feet wet again if it's been a while and you have it written. We're going to talk more about writing right after my segment with Dr. DellHera. The math workshop's great just to brush up to, see if you recognize some of those terms and concepts and where you're at. Statistics is kind of there for people who are taking stats or more advanced math. I really enjoy the writing style guide. That's one of my favorites because it shows what the expectation for writing is and what well-written papers are. There's also lots of resources on the internet as well to help you that I always recommend my students, Grammarly.com being one of them, to help with some of the grammatical writing. Anyways, moving along, we'll talk about tutor.com real quick. So if you see on this next slide here, the name of your course listed, it's in the middle of the screen. You'll see the classes currently available are. If you're in any of these classes, there is free tutoring available to you. It's a little bit subtle in the classroom, but now you might think tutoring, okay, well, I do my homework at midnight, and what if no one's available? We've partnered with tutor.com, and so there is tutoring available. It's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and it usually takes about 1 to 2 minutes to connect with your tutor, and at that point, you have someone live. They're anywhere in the world, and you can ask questions related to your course as far as how do I figure this out, what am I doing? And so I would strongly suggest, especially if you're in TUX or some of the math-related or English classes, definitely take advantage of that tutoring. It's there for you. We want you to be successful. So, and you'll see on the screenshot, that's where you would locate your free tutoring in your classroom, not on the home page of your portal. The next resource is our orientation. I'm super passionate about this one. I hope you all had a wonderful weekend, but I really hope that you guys went in and took some time in the last week, if not prior, to view your orientation. But don't worry, if you haven't viewed it yet, today is the perfect day to view it. So this is kind of an image of what it looks like. It's a class. When you go to your classroom, you will see Trident University orientation. I suggest going here first before you start your class. And even if you can spend 20 minutes to 2 hours in there, whatever works for you, there's so much valuable information. One being how to download Microsoft Office for free, expectations, and it's a non-live version of a class so that you feel comfortable practicing submitting discussions and assignments before you go and submit work in your class for feedback. So I can't emphasize enough how valuable this is. Usually students that do the orientation have a substantially higher success rate in their first class and in their program because of the information that's gleaned there. And you get access to it for 6 months. So it's always there if you need to go back and say, where was that piece of information? This really helps you set up expectations. So that's your homework for today, is to go into orientation if you haven't. If you already have, I have more homework for you. So nothing too crazy. So now we're going to talk a little bit about, I believe, first steps, since it's our first day of class. So with first steps, I would say, okay, today is my first day of class. I went to the webinar, and Tasha told me I need to do the orientation. But I would also suggest that you need to log in and take a tour of your actual class. You can't really mess anything up by clicking around unless you're physically uploading a piece of, a document for in the Dropbox, but that's still, you should be fine. The reason I mention that is I really encourage you, the more you click around, the more you'll become comfortable with the classroom. And usually the first session, you're learning how to manage your time and you're learning how to navigate the portal. In a session or so, you're a pro with navigating the systems, but in the meantime, there's usually 1 or 2 ways to get to the same thing. And there's some really helpful guides within the class too, if you ever go to the Help for Students section. So log in today, look over your class. There's a syllabus in every class, so you want to read through each slide there. There's a grade scale of how many points you need to be successful. It's all about points. You'll meet your instructor, ask questions, develop your plan. So today, log in, meet your instructor, participate in the introduction, and come up with your time management plan. The introduction's not graded, but usually the first day of class, it's a great opportunity to meet everyone who's in your class. Just say hi and a little bit about you, right? And check in with your advisor if you need to take care of anything else. Then, in summary, we're going to go over a little bit just what we talked about. So, we talked about logging in today. If you aren't getting this hint here, I start the first day of class. Don't wait till tomorrow to log in. Start today. Usually, students who log in the first day of class are most successful. And then go in, and I would encourage you, as you create your time management plan, to log in, even if it's 15 minutes a day in the beginning, just to get a sense of what you need to do and how much time you need to put in, so that you start to feel out, okay, you know what, maybe I only need to log in every other day, but maybe I do for an hour. It's up to you. But no reason to wait. Do your introduction, complete all your discussions, and your assignments. So this is where I just want to break down, and you probably might know this if you've done the orientation, but for every module, there's 3 assignments. So there's the case assignment, there's the SLP, and then there's the discussion. And so usually you'll have 2 weeks to complete all 3 assignments, but the discussions, I would set your expectation now that you need to do a discussion every week. So for module 1, you would do your initial post in the first week, and the second week you would do your peer responses. Excuse me. Every discussion requires peer responses, and it is a large portion of your grade, your discussions. It's 23% usually. So I would encourage you to go in and get involved with that and make sure that you're submitting them. It's all about points. Get to know your class, your advisor. When they call to say hi, when they send you a welcome email, say hi back. We want to hear from you. And then I would set a goal to participate in your threaded discussion by Wednesday of this week. That way you've got it out of the way. And some classes do have an expectation that within the first few days of class you need to participate. So in short, be proactive and have fun. This is an exciting time, and we're here to help you be successful.
All right, everyone. So at this point, we're going to transition into some academic writing, some tips for academic writing. So this is one of this is one of the concerns that many of our students have, especially if they've been out of school for a while. So we want to take some time to go over some differences that are between business/military writing and academic writing. So many of you have a wealth of experience either in the military or in business situations or both, and so we want you to leverage that experience within the class, but raise your awareness of the differences, especially when it comes down to writing, because they are two different things. And so this slide goes over the three differences that we want you to kind of keep in mind when you're going through your writing within your class, and especially as it pertains to the differences between military and business writing and your academic writing. So the first key difference between those two environments as it pertains to writing is the goal of writing. So when you're in the military and when you're in a business situation, you write to accomplish the mission, to accomplish an objective. And everything you do is geared towards accomplishing that mission. That's why you write. In an academic environment, the goal of writing is to help you become a better communicator. And when you graduate from a bachelor's program, you're expected, or a master's program, you're expected to have a high proficiency of written communication skills. And that is the goal of academic writing, so that you can develop your thoughts and develop your arguments in a rational, logical manner. So good writing equals good communicating and good thinking, and that is the goal that of academic writing. We'll talk about how that plays out into an actual example. But the second key difference is the process of writing. And so when you within business and military environments, you're subject to writing multi-authored documents. And so what that means is you write your commanding officer or your supervisor says, write up this memo or do this. You write it up, you pass it off to your superior edits it, adds some things, pass it off to their superior. And before a decision is actually made, there's 2 or 3 hands that are touching this document, making sure that it's good to go. In an academic environment, you're going through all of those steps by yourself, and you're creating single-authored documents, which means you're the one that's doing the brainstorming, you're the one doing the organizing and the writing and the editing and drafting of the final versions and all of that. So you're going to have to consider that within your time management plan, because all of that adds time and extra thinking towards completing out these assignments. Another thing that I want you to kind of consider, which also plays into the whole goals of academic writing, is this analogy of making coffee. And so it never fails that I'll have a student angry at me for providing some feedback, saying, I need you to flesh out these ideas, I need more details, I need you to further explain this. And they'll we'll hop on the phone, we'll talk to each other, and we'll have this conversation about how they answered the question. So what else do you want, Professor DellHera? And I'll ask them, how do you make coffee? And they'll say, well, I take the beans and I put them in the pot, I fill the pot up with water, and I press the on button, and then I get coffee. I'm like, exactly, that you just gave me the conclusion. And I'm not asking for the conclusion. Your instructors are not asking for the conclusion. We want to know where that coffee bean was planted. How did you cultivate that coffee bean? How long does it take to grow, and when do you harvest it, and how do you treat that bean, and where do you bag it, and how do you bag it, and where do you send it off to, and how do you price it, and why should a customer or consumer pick that bag of beans over another bag of beans? And then they take that bag home, fill up the pot, and then you make coffee. So that is what we're talking about when we talk about the process of writing and the goals of writing. We want to know the logical flow of events, or your logic and flow, and logic and rationale of solving that solution and answer. We want to see evidence for how you come to that solution. So a lot of that has to do with doing that background research. Your experience is your experience is great. It's all fine and well, but everybody has an opinion and everybody has experiences, and your experience and opinion doesn't hold a whole lot of weight unless there's objective evidence to support that solution. So within these assignments, you're going to be expected to integrate two things: your experience and your research to solving this solution. So that means you have to remove yourself from your own experience and from your own opinions and do some objective research. And that is what makes you a better communicator. When you flush out those ideas, we're not just asking for the conclusion. We're not just asking for a 1 to 2 sentence response. We want you to develop those ideas, and sometimes that causes challenges for students. The third key differentiator in academic writing versus business/military writing is voice. And by voice, we're talking about uniformity. So if you haven't noticed, within the military, we're really big on uniforms. You look the same, you dress the same, you talk the same, and all of that also comes out in your writing. And the problem with that is that too much uniformity within an academic environment leaves you at risk of committing an act of academic writing violations such as plagiarism. So it's really important for you to practice putting things in your own words, synthesizing and paraphrasing ideas in your own words, because your instructor is going to be measuring your individual understanding of these concepts. We don't really care necessarily about all these quotations that you can copy and paste into your writing. We want to know your individual understanding, and that practice is difficult, it's challenging, it's time consuming, it can be frustrating at times, but in the end, your brain is getting this workout that will make you a better problem solver and critical thinker, which is a cornerstone of the Trident education. So those are the 3 things I want you to consider when you go about writing academically. And hopefully that prepares you for some of the feedback that you might be receiving from your instructor. This next slide will go over the format of academic writing. This is not an all-inclusive slide that gives you everything you need to know. The goal of this slide is just to get those wheels going if you've been out for a while and you need to write an essay or something like that. So when you write an essay, I want you to kind of think about a PowerPoint presentation. Many of you have done many of these PowerPoints, or you've sat in front of a PowerPoint presentation before. It all starts off with a cover slide, and the presenter will come up and say, this is our agenda today, this is what we're going to be talking about, this is why it's important for you to pay attention during this presentation. That right there is kind of like an introduction paragraph for your essay. Your introduction is going to provide a thesis statement, which is basically saying the purpose of this essay is fill in the blank, which tells your reader exactly what the learning outcome is of this assignment. And so and then from there, you're just gonna be outlining the questions that you're gonna have to answer. So you're gonna be given these questions that you need to answer for every case or SLP, and your job is to kind of outline those within your introduction. So, and when you do that, you're setting up your reader to kind of say, all right, this is what I'm gonna be learning today. From there, you're going to be going, a natural presentation has various slides, right, with various topics. Those are going to be like each paragraph within your essay. And so you're going to, I listed out some bullet points here for you to consider. I would recommend you include headings and subheadings, just like you do on a PowerPoint presentation. Let your reader know what the main idea is of this section. When you write your paragraphs, I recommend keeping your paragraphs between 4 and 7 sentences. Now, no one is going to be counting your sentences, or you may not get dinged for it. Every instructor may have a different approach to this, but I like this 4 to 7 sentence guideline, because if you fall below 4 sentences, you run the risk of being too brief and too concise to where you're not fully developing your ideas. And if you're going above 7 sentences, if you're hitting the 8 and 9 sentence mark, you're probably steering off topic, or you need to break up that larger paragraph into smaller paragraphs, or just make your ideas more concise and tight. And that strategy will help highlight your main ideas for your reader, which is your instructor, and make it easier for your instructor to measure your understanding and to identify that you have, in fact, answered every single question. We talked about providing evidence for your thoughts and for your conclusions. A really great way of providing that evidence and to demonstrate to your instructor that you've done the research is to provide in-text citations. So we have some resources within the resources drop-down page of your portal homepage, but I highly recommend including in-text citations, because this again makes it very clear to your reader, your instructor, that you've done research and that you're providing evidence for your conclusions, which is critical for success and to just earn the highest grade. If you're really struggling about what a thesis statement is, and you kind of don't really understand what that means, I recommend going to the module homepage. And the module homepage will give you what's called learning outcomes. And the learning outcomes tells you exactly what you're going to be learning and what you're supposed to be doing in your assignments for the case and the SLP and the discussion. So you can almost rephrase those learning outcomes as your thesis statement. And you could say, the purpose of this assignment is fill in the blank for that learning outcome. And that makes it, again, very clear to your instructor that this student is addressing the learning outcome, which is the most important part of your assignment. If you're struggling with writing a paragraph, don't know where to start, don't know how to start or end it, I recommend kind of writing a sentence on these key aspects right here, this last bullet point where it says content. Your instructor is looking for you to define key terms, so understanding what these key terms mean, explain their application to the problem, and then to explain why that concept is important to whatever you're learning, whatever the main ideas of your assignment or the module are. So if you do those 3 things and then tie it into that learning outcome again, if you can integrate that learning outcome into that paragraph, then I think you're going to find some really great success in drafting up your paragraphs and having a very clear, concise, and thorough assignment. So that's helped me as a student, and I hope you find some success, and I hope it helps you out too, especially if you're hitting a wall. The last part of your essay is the conclusion paragraph. So you have your introduction, where it tells you what you're going to be learning as you read through this assignment, and your conclusion paragraph is telling your reader what you've already learned. So it's basically the mirror of an introduction. You shouldn't you shouldn't spend a whole lot of time on that conclusion paragraph. You're basically just restating or editing what you've already said in the introduction, and just kind of summarizing these main ideas again. And so I hope that helps with you organizing your ideas and getting through these essays. This is always a bit of a challenge. It's still a challenge for me. So don't worry about it if you struggle at first. Trust me, before too long, it'll just become second nature. And so I hope you find that helpful. Please reach out to your advisor, your instructor, or access those writing resources for more information if you feel like you need it. And at this point, I'm going to transition over to our career and networking suite conversation to give you some really great information about some resources that can help you in and beyond your time at Trident.
Thank you, Dr. DellHera. We also have resources to help students outside of the classroom. First, there's Alumni Fire, which is for all students, not just Trident alumni. This is a place where you can connect with other students, alumni, faculty, and staff to get advice on your education, career, and more. This resource is invaluable for career networking and development, improving your educational standing, building mentee-mentor relationships, and more. Visit the URL on your screen or reach out to alumni at trident.edu. There's also CareerBeam, which is your source for career development, such as resume reviews, interview practice, and more. You can find that within your student portal. You can visit the URL on the screen or reach out to Trident for careers at trident.edu. This concludes our presentation today. Now, let me welcome back Dr. DellHera and representatives from our Center for Student Success for our Q&A session. Hey, good morning, good afternoon, everyone.
Hi, everyone.
Morning.
Oh, great. Well, that concludes the presentation, at least the recorded part of our presentation. And now we're here with you live, have Dr. George DellHera, and we have Joy Tillman-Cox here to answer your questions. And as a reminder, if you do have questions, you can submit them on the control panel, right-hand side of your screen, go about halfway down, you'll see a question box. I was talking to a few of you during the webinar, and great to meet you. Good luck this session. And first question I have for you, I'm going to send this one to Joy to start out. And Joy, when submitting a paper, do we need to submit our drafts or just the finished product?
That's a great question. You actually want to submit your final assignment. You don't want to do a draft because then you have other corrections to make, and I want to make sure that you put your best foot forward. So I would just wait and submit your final.
Yeah, that's a great response, Joy. I just being an instructor in the class, sometimes students will want to submit some drafts, and they'll reach out to me independently and say, "Hey, can I just submit this? What I have." And I'm personally more than happy to offer some feedback and issue a grade, and then reevaluate that grade if you want to take that feedback and resubmit it. That's my personal style. But if you want to know, if you're going the right direction, then reach out to your instructor and ask if you could submit the assignment and potentially resubmit the assignment if if you'd like to earn a higher grade with their feedback. So every instructor is going to have their own personal style, but like Joy said, every instructors are mandated to issue a grade when you submit an assignment. So so whatever you submit, expect a grade for it. So you definitely put your best foot forward on those assignments.
And Dr. DellHera, can students use tutors to review a paper?
Absolutely. I mean, nothing is holding you back from that. Make use of the tutoring. Whatever. I mean, it's there for you. We're paying for you to use it. So make use of your resources. Make use of your instructors. Make use of your friends and family. Make use of tutors. Whatever you need to do to get the most out of your learning experience. That's the value of the Trident education. So nobody's holding you back from making use of your resources.
Great, thank you. And next question, we have a student looking for some advice, so we're going to start with Joy. And the question or comment is, I'm a first-time college student at 41, so I'm having problems knowing how to submit a paper. Joy, could you offer some advice and walk the student how to do that?
Sure. Great question. And I understand coming back after probably a long hiatus away from school, it's going to take a minute to understand that technology. So basically, there is a little drop-down box. There's a box in your classroom that says upload, and that's where you would want to click that box and then follow the instructions on how to upload it. But the key thing is remembering what you named your assignment. Make sure you name it appropriately so that you can find it when you go to upload it. Once you find it, and because it's going to actually ask you where to, what assignment you're going to upload. So you want to make sure that you have that right name, and when you go to select it, it'll You'll pick it because you know that's the name of your assignment, and then there's a little box that says open. I know it's kind of funny to hear it say open, but you want it to open, and then the next thing you want to do is hit submit. I do believe if my memory serves me correctly, that's how you do it. But if you need help, we can all walk you through it.
Yeah, it happens all the time. So if you need some help navigating the TLC portal, reach out to your advisor. They're the experts. They're your point of contact for that. I would also recommend. Well, first I would just say, whether you're 41, 21, 51, or 70, expect a transition in any new university environment. Whether you're going to a brick and mortar campus or an online campus, figuring out where the bathroom is or figuring out where to drop your assignment off at, those are just common transition issues. So it'll soon be second nature for you. So don't think that it's because you're too old or you're too young or this is too new or this is so confusing. Trust me, you're gonna have the transition is normal, and it'll become second nature to you. There's
Definitely.
actually when you log into the TLC portal, many of those questions are going to be in a section called frequently asked questions at the bottom right hand side of your TLC portal. So you can anything from like submitting a discussion, how do I submit to my Dropbox, how do I access an assignment, or whatever it is. Those questions are often addressed in that help box section, and with visuals for you, so you could step-by-step visuals and steps that you can upload. I also recommend you take advantage of that orientation, as Tasha recommended. You have some practice there to kick around an actual classroom that isn't graded, and you can practice uploading if you're concerned about that.
Great, thank you. And we have a couple more questions about writing and paper submitting. I'm going to bundle a couple of them together and start out with you, Dr. DellHera. And the question is, when submitting a paper, how soon will we get a grade once the assignment is turned in?
So the requirement is that instructors submit feedback within 72 hours of the time that you submit the assignment. I mean, the classes that I manage and the classes that I teach, we've got an average turnaround time of about 24 hours or less. A lot of the times students are receiving same-day feedback. So just continue to check in to see that feedback. Most of the assignments that I've seen are turned around in about a day or so. But again, depending on the type of assignment and the grade level that you're at, maybe there's more feedback that your instructor is going to give you. But if you haven't heard anything back, or if you haven't seen anything within 72 hours, 3 days, then reach out to your instructor and just make sure that that person is okay.
Yeah, and we have a follow-up and from that, and says that is an awesome response time. So good job, faculty.
Thank you.
And next question about the papers, is there a standard way that title pages are supposed to look, Dr. DellHera?
Yes, first thing I'm going to suggest is make use of the writing style guide. The format that we use is APA style. So there's some clear examples of what a title page should look like, what your essay should look like, all the spacing. We use double space, Times New Roman font, and then there's some very clear examples of what a reference page should look like. So without going into the very granular details of what a title page should look like, I would just refer you to the writing style guide, because there's a very clear example of what a title page and the rest of your assignment should look like.
Thank you. And Joy, next question.
Enough to address your question.
Sorry about that. Joy, question for you. How many assignments do students get per module? Will there be 4 at a time, or is it 1?
Well, there's 3 assignments per module. There is your threaded discussion, there is your case, and then there is your session-long project, and we call it SLP. So you have those 3 assignments that need to be submitted within that module each and every week, and our modules are 8 weeks long. Our classes are 8 weeks long, I'm sorry, and modules are 2 weeks long.
Yeah, a common question here that we get is, do I need to go in order to complete the assignments in order, case, SLP, and discussion? And the answer to that is no. Again, Trident we have a very flexible model for you to follow. So the case assignments are worth 50 points. That's the majority of your assignment. The SLP is worth 30 points, and the discussions are worth 20 points. So everything, as Tasha said, counts toward your grade. So if you don't submit an assignment, you just lose 50 points. Or if you don't submit a discussion, or if you don't you don't participate fully, you're going to just lose those points. So consider that as you create your time management plan. For me, when I was a student here, I set a goal for me to complete my case assignment, or actually I wanted to complete my discussion, submit my discussion the first week, and my SLP. And the reason why I chose the SLP is because the SLP is a little bit shorter of an assignment. So for me, it worked well for me because I wanted to build quick momentum. That's why we ask you to hop in that discussion early, because it helps build momentum for you. And then I just try to carry that momentum into that second week for me to complete that case assignment. And that's how I broke out my time management. You don't have to submit all the assignments at once on the last day. You could submit them early. So consider that while you're doing your time management, and just kind of experiment with how you build momentum, how you complete your assignments most efficiently. And just know that it'll be different for everyone. Some students just want to get that major assignment done early first because they know that they'll have that done, and then they can kind of work into that second week. So just things for you to consider as you develop your time management plan.
And actually, that's how I do it too, because I'm now a Trident student. So that's what I do. I actually do my threaded discussion and my SLP first, and then I do my case study last, because it's always longer and it takes more time.
And like Tasha said, find what works for you, because when I was a Trident student, I wanted to get the biggest thing out of the way first. So I could view each module as downhill. Finish the big thing, and then it was just a cakewalk from there. But everything's gonna be different for each of you. And Dr. DellHera, can students turn in 3 modules at once?
You can do whatever you like, but I don't advise that. So the thing that you lose out on, nothing is prohibiting you in the system to submit everything on day 1. That will raise some significant eyebrows, and that's not the best practice, because you lose out on all the feedback from your instructor. And remember when we talk about the cyclical learning style, if your instructor is giving you the same feedback from module 1 on every assignment, module 1, module 2, module 3, guess what's going to happen? How do you think your instructor is going to feel by the 3rd, 5th, or 6th time they're looking at your assignment and you're still making the same mistakes? They're probably going to be frustrated and upset and take it out on your grade. So my style is, hey, I'm going to work with this student. I'm going to meet them where they're at the first couple modules. But if I'm not getting any response, if I'm not being met halfway, then I'm going to feel like I'm just being ignored. And so I strongly recommend that if you're going to do something like that, and honestly, some students are deployed, or they have or they're going somewhere, and then they'll reach out to me and say, hey, I'm going to be offline for 4 weeks or whatever. Can I submit everything on this day? And in that case, I'm perfectly happy with submitting with students submitting block uploads or bulk uploads with 2 or 3 module assignments. But if you're going to fall into that situation, if you're planning on doing that, then reach out to your instructor, because I'm almost certain that your instructor will be fine with that, because we have that flexibility. because we know that you're an adult learner. We know that emergencies happen. We know that work requirements or government requirements or military obligations do pop up without notice or anything, and we're happy to be flexible, but please reach out to us. If you fall on the other side of the spectrum and you just procrastinate and you submit everything on the last day, then that's another story. So please reach out to us, communicate your plan, and we're more than happy to be flexible with you. Please believe that. Please believe that.
Okay, thank you. And then we have time for one more question. There are actually a few more questions out there, and we will get back to you later today and with answers to those questions. We will not forget you. And Joy, this question is for you. Could you explain the SLP assignments a bit more? Are they related to one another? How do they connect together?
Yes, they are connected. Like I said, each module you have those 3 assignments, and you also have required reading. There may be additional reading for you as well. So basically, you're taking, it's called a session-long project. So they are interconnected. So they do work together, and they kind of do build on each other. And so, or there could be a little, and I shouldn't say off topic because they're really not, but they might look like they're off topic, but they're not. They're a different part of your reading that you've done for the week. So they are interconnected in order to keep moving forward. I think I answered that right.
Yeah, sounded great. And like I said, if you have any more questions, please send them in, but we'll get back to you afterwards. I'm going to hand things off to Joy, and she's going to end today's webinar with a student success story. So the floor is yours, Joy, and thank you everyone for attending today. Great luck this session and beyond.
Thank you very much. And my student success story is one that I hope will resonate with each and every one of you. But I had a student who was a returner after a long period of time, and they were gone about 20 plus years. Students in their early 40s, so it's been a while since they were in school. So of course, they've had to relearn how to use a computer, and of course, having to upload the assignment and how to learn how to do all that all over again. But the student was in their bachelor's program and just had a lot of different family things go on. They worked a full-time job, long hours. They did a lot of physical labor on their job, and then had a family. So then they would come home and they'd have to do homework. And of course, and I'm sure that just like all of us, we have like, oh my goodness, I have homework. And I know my student was like, oh my goodness, I have homework to do, but I'm just so extremely tired. But you know what? He pulled himself up by his bootstraps and told himself, it's like, hey, I really want my degree, and I'm going to do what I need to do. I know I'm tired, and I'm too tired almost to eat dinner, but I'm going to eat dinner. I'm going to get some energy back, and I'm going to just put myself in front of my computer and start doing my homework, which is what he did. He just went and got into his homework, told his family, this is what I need to do, and the student is doing it all for himself, as well as his family, and enabling him to have a better job, and potentially look at, going to graduation, which is actually what he was able to do. Between all those long hours and taking care of his family, he was actually able to make it to graduation last year, and just had a blast and just was so excited that he could attend with his family, because he wasn't sure whether or not his family was going to make it. And honestly, they made it. They made it a vacation as well. My student actually enjoyed graduation, had an awesome time, and then decided he might want to go to grad school, which I believe he is still in grad school. But you know what? It takes a mountain. It takes a village. I shouldn't say it takes a mountain, but you feel like you're climbing a mountain, because it's like, oh my goodness, I'm all the way on this side, and now I got to climb up and get over on the other side. And you know what? It can happen. We have motivation in ourselves. We have support of our family. And one thing when he did learn at graduation is that rely on your family and friends for that support and that motivation, that extra, hey, you can do this kind of attitude. He didn't give up. He wanted his degree so bad that it's like, you know what, I'm going to do it. And if I lose sleep, that's okay, because I know once I graduate, I am going to be much better off for it. And I'm going to celebrate and along with my family and friends, because it's a lot of hard work. And like I said, it takes a village to get you through. So I am definitely looking forward to seeing all of you graduate. It's okay if you stumble. We're all here to help you, pick you up, brush you off, and get you moving on your way. So good luck. Congratulations for making this step. And I look forward to seeing you in class soon. Have a great day.